Councilor Norbury.
That the Monday, November 1st, 2021 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, October 18th, 2021, regular meeting of council minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Lehman.
That the Monday, October 18th, 2021, regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Kirby. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 3.2, October 21st, 2021, special meeting of council minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Lehman.
That the Thursday, October 21st, 2021, special meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Kirkowka. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes, council? Staff?
None.
Thank you. Delegations and petitions. 6.1, Argo Road Maintenance. Warkentine and Shelley Fulmes of Argo Road Maintenance to provide an update at council on the winter road maintenance. Thank you, Chief. Welcome.
Thank you.
Floor is yours, please.
Oh, well, well, actually, we were requested to come. So we are here at your disposal for any questions that you may have. I can quickly go over a few things that we have done this summer.
Yep.
We're okay with our masks?
Yes, please.
Might be able to hear me better. And just kind of an overall, just so people know, I'm sure you all know, but just some of the work that we do is we maintain the rest area. We do debris removal, which includes trees, animals, those kinds of things. We constantly patrol looking for trees, animals. We sweep the winter sand off the highways. We inspect culverts and clean out culverts and catch basins. We clean the bridges. We do accident response, traffic control. We grade, patch, do dust control, mowing, hand brushing, sign repairs, and other bridge work. Some of the big projects that we've done in this area are we did some double wide width mowing in the area. We have a large project going on 52 East. And we recently just put up an alternate route sign for Tumbler Ridge on Highway 2. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate your time this evening. We wanted to give council an opportunity to ask any questions or concerns that they may have. Councilor Kirkowka.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in. So I actually attended a coffee meeting with Argo, with the mayor, and that's when I said that Argo should come before council and give the update to all of council, just so that we're all aware, and the residents that watch us, the residents come to the gallery, to understand what you guys are doing and whether you're ahead, ready for the snow. As per the meeting that we were attending, it seemed like Argo was ready, and I mean, obviously, we can't control if you get 3 feet overnight without any notice, but that was a big thing, is just kind of update all of council where you guys sit with your sand and all that, and maybe just fill us in on 52 East. I'm quite aware of what is happening at 52 East, but people that didn't attend that meeting may not be. And then the other question I'll have at the end is if there's anything that council can do. When we had that meeting and we talked about the ditch clearing, so the brush clearing, or whatever you want to call it, on the sides, it's done in Tumbler Ridge probably 5 or 6 years ago along the highway.
I think more than that, yeah.
And the comments there was something that's like almost a separate contract done by the government, but if that is something that we can help push for the government to say why we should have that done. I mean, whether you guys get the contract to do it or not, I can't control that, but to me, it became a safety issue. I mean, you look at the trees that are growing there along the sides now, and to me, I'm assuming you guys are seeing more wildlife compared to, 8 years ago, or whatever it was last done. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure, we can definitely bring that to the ministry as part of our, they do have a program, now, like you say, whether we get it or not, but we can definitely bring it to them as part of our planning process.
And suggestions on which highways need it the most, we can definitely,
Yeah, that would.
shouldn't say definitely, but we can sometimes impact where they pick to do it. So knowing that it's important to this area, we can push in sometimes in those areas. So,
Yeah, I think Highway 52 North was cleared just over 10 years ago, so, but it was a significant clear. It wasn't just the mowing, it was
it was more like a tree line to tree line.
correct.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, right? Especially with
Absolutely.
the animals in this area.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that would definitely be a recommendation of council to try and put that on the radar. If
That would be
there's-
the highest priority to that section.
I think so.
52 is the biggest.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is.
52 North, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, 52 North is in itself a priority, I believe, too. It's in pretty rough shape, in my opinion. It certainly needs a lot of work. But again, we're very appreciative to the ministry of the work that's been done on Highway 29, but I think the majority of our traffic coming in and out of the community is on Highway 52 North, so it certainly needs to become a priority, in my opinion. And then 52 East, can you just explain to us what's going on there, Warren?
So yeah, 52 East approximately be probably a three-year project. I mean, the idea is to be able to bring something to the ministry for hard surface, right? So this is the base repair, ditching. What else did we do? I think we mixed asphalt in.
Yeah.
Ditching.
Gravel.
Lots of
Yeah.
gravel was
Gravel.
brought in. Like I said, the end result, 3-year program is hard surface. I mean, that's beneficial for everybody. That's what we want to see.
We're going from, we talked to the geotech, who gave us a recommendation on how to hard surface it,
And how to build that road.
how to build it up.
Perfect.
So we're following, that's a ministry recommendation on how to build that road.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of the end result we want for 52 East, right? So it's
If
not
they
as
actually
fast.
hard surface it, but at least it's ready.
that's right. Yeah, it's possible. Counselor?
and then just the Murray service road. Like, I know that was something that was added by the ministry to be put down as being done by whoever has the highway contract. I'm just curious where we're at on that. I think we still hear about how terrible the road is.
Yeah,
Well, we do maintain that road 22 kilometers, well, we actually.
21 in the winter.
21 in the winter.
But they actually, the guys push it to about 23 and a half, right, for the parking lot.
For the snowmobile.
For the snowmobile. Yep.
Is there any upgrades expected out there? Like, I know there's some big gravel piles up there. Like, I know previous to Argo taking the contract over, it was supposed to be done by the previous contractor, was supposed to do some work on it. No bashing them, but I don't think it ever got done. But it was actually talked about doing the ditching and adding to the road surface. To me, I haven't been out there for a bit, but I'm hearing that it's not still being done.
It's still in the works.
There's still talks.
Yeah,
There's
we're
been lots
we're
of talks,
definitely
and that
talking
gravel
about
you're
it.
talking about it exactly, right? And then potentially more, but over a long-term project, right? 3 years probably. I mean, there's lots to do out there. We all know that. So it's going to have to be broke up. The regular maintenance, if that's more of a concern that we want to talk about, I mean, as far as I know, they're grading.
Yeah. It's gotten more grading this year than any other year.
Yeah.
Good.
It got brushed from the campground right to kilometer 3, I do believe, last fall. We've tried to do some ditching, there's a couple spots at 12 and 16 that the water would come on the road. We've ditched and brought gravel in to raise the road up to try and stop that this fall here. So we
Good.
are slowly taking a look at the bad spots.
Counselor?
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm just glad to hear that you're aware of it, and working on it, and you are. And I can't speak, I'm not a snowmobiler, but you do hear about it, and they're very appreciative of what you guys are doing there in the wintertime. You know, having it pushed in a bit so they can turn around. You can't control the guy that goes over the berm, can't control that, but what you guys are doing out there for the sledders, I mean, I think they're greatly appreciative of what you're doing that you didn't have to do, so thank you guys for doing that.
And I know there was a concern last year about some new signage showing the maintenance. I think we just finished
It's
the
up
install
now.
of new signage out there for the end of maintained. Try to let everybody know.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely had more search and rescue activity because of it, so I think that signage is important. Yeah. Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of things. What's the expected response time? Like last year, we seemed to get snow a couple of times, or maybe 3 or 4 times a year, where we got significant snowfall, and then, like, if it's overnight, do you have a certain amount of time before you actually get on the road? Because it seemed like, especially going towards Chetwynd in the morning, it would be a while before somebody was out there. If you're going to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I don't know what time you guys start. And the other thing is, do you have any idea why they would have seal coated that second part already? Is it,
I think it's more of a maintenance thing, but it actually extends the life of the pavement. As ironic as it sounds, it actually does extend the life of the pavement.
Yeah.
Seals it from moisture and traction, and, it gives added traction and seals it from getting into the moisture into the cracks and freezing and causing more frost heaves. So, it did seem kind of weird how they did it one year later, but.
We don't have any say in it.
That's the
unfortunately.
ministry.
Okay. Councillor?
yeah, it just seemed a little bit odd because, I mean, it isn't that old, but the frost heaves definitely did come back,
Yeah, oh yeah.
especially at that, where the windmill laydown area was and some of the other areas. They're right back to where they were, so.
Yeah.
And I can understand seal coating, I
See,
mean,
they just peeled it up and actually relayed it, so
Yeah.
if they didn't do any work underneath, they will come back, right? So.
yeah,
And for the other reason for our timeframes, we work from 5 a.m. till 2:30, and then another crew comes on at 5 p.m. till 2:30, and if it is snowing or raining, they will take it upon themselves to virtually just stay for the 12 until the other guys come in. Sometimes they go home at 2:30, and it starts to snow on the way home. You know how you can make that judgment, turn around and go back, or just let them get it in the morning, and sometimes it can snow a foot in 2.5 hours, we've seen it lots, right? So
Yeah.
that's what happens. And we do have response times too, right? For certain highways, different numbers for different highways.
Yeah, this highway is still considered 4 inches.
Yeah.
4 inches of snow have to be on the ground before
And
plow
it
goes.
is, 2 hours to get to it after that, and so on and so on. Right. Freezing rain is all different numbers, 90 minutes, I do believe, and so on, right?
For Class Bs, 90 minutes for hills and corners.
Okay,
That's restoring traction.
right.
We try
I
to.
think it might be good to touch on the 1-800 number, because it might be a good time to throw it in there. If people are seeing those things, I can say, because I receive a lot of them, Tumbler doesn't say much.
It's quiet.
It's very quiet out here, so even to find that out, I don't know, maybe people just figure it out or what, but we have a 1-800 number that goes, it's answered all the time, and it gets to somebody.
Yeah,
It goes
I
right
get-
to the people on the road.
absolutely.
Like in the evenings, during the
Quick.
day, it goes to the office, but evenings and weekends, it goes directly to the crew that's on the road.
Okay, that's great to know. Yeah, and we had mentioned that when Argo first took over, that there wasn't a sign just leaving town of showing who the maintenance contractor was, so that's kind of important too. And the 1-800 number is on there, I
Yeah.
believe, too.
Which, I don't know what
Just
the
up by
1-800 number
Quality,
is.
52 north.
I was hoping I had it on my card, but I do not.
Okay. Question just about the new winter sand, the smaller size. Well, I didn't hear what the results were from the analysis of it last year. Are we continuing with the smaller size this year?
Yeah, the ministry's not moving from the 9.5
From the 9.5.
mil. That's what they want, that's what we have to have.
And your results from the application found that it was effective, or so far?
I think for the most part, it definitely blows off,
We use,
depending on the
we
weather.
definitely, I can't remember what the percentage is off the top of my head right now, but we use a lot more of it.
Yeah,
Because it blows off, so we're constantly applying.
right. Okay. And is there any work planned for 52 North this next construction season?
We'd have to look at this would be next summer. I'd have to look at those plans because we're making those plans now throughout the winter after all of our inspections. I imagine.
I think
Do you know
maybe,
what-
and Keith, maybe you're leaning more towards like the big construction projects that probably come out of the ministry, like, I mean, most of our projects, so anything with hard surface on them, we can go in and we can fix base, do base repairs and whatnot. All right, which ones, is there areas that you're thinking of specifically? Because I don't know of any big ministry projects on 52 North right now.
We were hoping to patch right at the beginning of 52, that big dip. We were hoping to get that patched. It's still on the books.
It's getting
Matter of
worse.
trying to get somebody in there to patch it. That is where we're struggling. We're also trying to get that patch in Dawson done right at the railway tracks on 97. So they can't come do that one.
Yeah.
And we're trying to convince them to come do this one as well. So we're hoping at some point they'll have some free time, but
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern is the middle section of the highway, middle 45 kilometers. Rolling hills, there's major potholes in there. Some of the old patchwork hasn't transitioned very well into the old stuff. There's definitely some areas that could constitute bump signs or slow down signs. If you're going 90 kilometers and hit a section in there, you're flying. So,
yeah, we can definitely take care of the signs and put some warning signs up.
but I mean, the fix in the past of a pothole on our highway is a red triangle, and that's not really a fix that we're looking for anymore. So it's getting to a point where it's, I wouldn't want to drive a sports car on that highway, let's put it that way. So really appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you very much, and we'll definitely follow up. And if there's anything like Councillor Kirkauka said that we can do in regards to lobbying the province on your behalf or on our behalf, please reach out.
Well, I think if we're both singing the same phrases from the same songbook, I think they'll hear it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have FIREWISE Consulting, Ernie Polsom from FIREWISE Consulting to provide an overview of the findings of the 2021 Fire Protection Review and Master Plan, including a PowerPoint presentation. I believe Chief is setting that all up for us.
Can you hear us, Ernie?
Sure can.
Fantastic. And I hope everybody can see Ernie up on the screen there.
Good evening, Ernie. Welcome.
Good evening.
The floor is yours, Ernie.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Your Worship Council. Thank you very much for making a few minutes of your time available to us this evening for to review this important project. A little bit about myself. My name is Ernie Polsom. I am a partner in FIREWISE Consulting. We do fire and emergency management consulting across Western Canada, including a whole bunch of community assessments and things like that all over the place. I'm closing in on 40 years in the fire service. I was fire chief in a number of communities, including the city of Leduc in Alberta, the town of Tabor, and I finished up my career in the five-strike role in Regina. I was also spent 8 years as the director of field operations for the Alberta Emergency Management Agency, and about 2 years as the acting fire commissioner for the province. So I have a little bit of background. The bulk of it has actually been spent working and supporting the delivery of volunteer paid on call and composite fire services. The career guys tended to have have less need for us in their opinion. So that's just a little bit about me. First, I'd like to say thank you very much for bringing us on board and letting us do this project. It was an amazing experience to be up in your community, an absolutely beautiful corner of the world. Very clearly a place that you have to plan to get to, because it's pretty tough to accidentally end up in Tumbler Ridge. So I'm sure pleased to have the opportunity to see your community in your district. I'm just going to share my screen. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I do have this report up, and I'm not going to read it. That would be a terrible thing to do, and you can do your own reading. I just want to high point some of the key findings and recommendations, provide a little bit of context. Feel free to interrupt at any point if you've got any questions. I'm going to breeze through fairly quickly because I think it's at least as important that you have the opportunity to ask me any questions while you have my ear. Here, you should be able to see the cover page of the report.
Yep.
Okay, so this was a neat project because we got to do the review and the master plan all in one go. That's unusual. More often than not, we go in and we do a review, and we have a ton of recommendations that we'd like to make, and then we come back at a later date to do the master plan. In this case, it was really neat to bring the two pieces together and to be able to do that as a package. What I will say is this is not a pass-fail thing. There's no scoring or grading. This isn't meant to be a critique of your organization. It really is just a snapshot in time, our observations. We apply that to legislative requirements, to industry best practices and standards, and we pull together a series of recommendations that we anchor to the observations that we made on the site visit, through review of the documents, and all that sort of stuff that we looked at. I would be remiss in not starting this off with what's good. You've got a really fine fire department there, and you've done a great job as a team. Fire protection doesn't start at the fire chief level. It actually starts with mayor and council, and them making good policy decisions and making the investments that are required. Your fire department is committed. They're committed to their community. They're committed to delivering the services that the community needs. I think that the pandemic really did underscore the importance of the leadership that the fire department brings, not just in the stuff that you think about, the fires and the motor vehicle collisions, but the planning and the community supports and all of the different things. And the weird incidents, your Beaver internet interruption was a uniquely Canadian type of an event, but it showed that the diversity of issues that go on in the community. In fact, that these issues happen on top of each other. So whilst they were dealing with COVID and providing leadership, they very clearly were doing all of the rest of the work that the community required. You really do have a very well-run organization. It's not just because the chief is sitting there. Tumbler Ridge Fire Department was a real pleasure to do that. As a matter of fact, it makes the job a little more challenging when as many good things are happening as is going on there. Chief is well respected by his members and frankly by the community. He's been implementing a whole bunch of really good programs, and I would argue that he's leading practice in data management and the use of data. Your fleet management practices are really good. Your administrative practices are wrong. And the department not only works well with its community and internally, it really is working very well with the district, the CAO and their peers in local government. This is a complex little jurisdiction to deliver services in, because you're a long way from help. And that's got some relevance to some of the observations we made. Your fire department needs to be a little more independent than somebody, in a in the lower mainland, for example, where there's 15 fire departments within 20 minutes or so travel time with each other. Up your way, even if Chatwind or Dawson Creek is dispatched at the same time as your local folks are, they're on the road for an hour or more whilst help is coming in. That means they need to be doing an awful lot of stuff that they might be able to share a little more broadly if they have mutual aid closer to hand. It's a geographic reality, but it is something that factors into it. As we work through, these we get whiffled off into the weeds with other stuff, but really what became very clear as we worked through that, through the site visit and the analysis of the data and responses and all of that sort of stuff, was that your single biggest concern from a fire protection perspective actually isn't the fires. Certainly there's climate change and all sorts of stuff that are impacting the occurrence, frequency, and intensity of fires in your neighborhood. But the reality is that staffing and your volunteer recruitment retention is your paid on-call firefighter recruitment retention is your single biggest challenge. Without your paid on-call firefighters, you simply don't have a fire department, and everything else is moot. So almost all of our recommendations are anchored in one way or another to supporting that critical that critical resource to firefighters. I'll tell you right now, in communities the size of Tumbler Ridge, a career fire department is not an option. It's millions of dollars a year in operating funds, and it's simply not sustainable. So the reality is that there needs to be investments and commitments to the fire department to help them stabilize, to encourage growth and recruitment, and to help them keep the folks that they've got when they come through the door. So our recommendations were relatively straightforward. What are the key ones right off the top? And this is a very common one. Honestly, I copy paste and changed the name of the jurisdiction into an awful lot of reports. Your fire department bylaw provides a very broad instructions to the fire department in terms of the services that they need to provide. The reality is that your fire department cannot provide all of them. Hazardous materials response to serious events. I'm not talking a little gasoline spill from a pickup truck, but a tanker of methyl ethyl, whatever, tipped over on the side of the road. While incredibly uncommon, there are also highly technical responses that need to be staffed and resourced properly. Your policies really don't support that and don't clearly communicate. So how are we going to do it? And that's stuff that needs to happen in advance. It's a conversation between you and your administration and the fire department to sort out what are the services that we legitimately need to deliver with our fire department, with our internal capacity, and that we need to be building our fire department towards. And what are the stuff that we can actually put off the industry, the owner of the product of the thing, or just say, look, we're going to seal off the area and we're going to wait until mutual aid comes in. So that's our top recommendation, because out of that then comes your resourcing, staffing, and all the other considerations around the fire department. Now I'm going to tell you, it's not as overwhelming as it sounds. It really is a fairly straightforward exercise, and I'm willing to bet the chief has put some significant thought into it and has some pretty good guidance for it. Oop. There we go. So the importance of that service level policy also speaks to training and competency levels. When you actually look at the calls that your department is going to, the vast majority of them fall within standard firefighting NFPA 1001, and we won't get into all of that. We explain it in the report. But it simplifies the training immensely if they can focus on that and deliver on that, and then build up their capacities through the use of outside agencies. It also is important that you're aware of what your fire department's doing. You really do need to be aware of the services that are being provided, the level to those, because at some point, the chief's going to come back to you and say, look, we need some cash for this, that, or the other thing. So you need to be aware of that. There's also the liability aspect. Recommendation 2, I led a a major project in Alberta that started an overhaul of how the Alberta government worked with municipalities and in particular fire services on recruitment and retention of volunteers. And what we found was, and some of my conversations in Tumbler Ridge bear this out, what we found was that volunteerism nationally is really in trouble. Anybody that's depending on volunteer staffing and help is really struggling. There really does need to be a council-led volunteer recruitment retention working group. It may be that it's a community-wide initiative, or it may be focused very tightly on the fire department. But you're in the best place to figure out what are the things that's going to work to bring people onto that fire department. Is it creating operating agreements with local industry to encourage staff to join up? Is it, I don't know. You know your community far better than I can. There really does need to be working group together to evaluate this. I'm going to apologize. There may be a yappy chihuahua come through. My wife just got home, so that's the beauty of working from a home office. So that's a really important recommendation, and I think it's one that can be implemented locally with a little bit of guidance, from folks like myself. And we're more than happy to spend an hour or two helping you frame out a terms of reference around what that working group might look like. Recommendation 3 is kind of a capital works project. Your fire hall is probably one of the cutest fire stations in BC. You drive up and its curb appeal is brilliant. It's well maintained, and from an external perspective, when you get inside it, you start to realize that it's really at the end of its design life. That doesn't mean it's garbage or needs to be torn down or that it's imminently going to fall down, but it's not supporting the operation of the fire department particularly well. Administration areas are not don't provide adequate spaces for the staff that work there. In your operations areas, you're missing a whole bunch of functional things like decontamination spaces and showers and things like that. You've got a building sciences report provides it that was done in 2018 by RDH Building Sciences. It's a really good report. They did a great job. That is a really good jumping off point to start to plan for what the next iteration of the fire station in Tumbler Ridge looks like. You've got a very tight site, so I don't know that renovation and an addition is necessarily an effective option, but it might be. And it's time to start looking at that, because you're going to have to do some things in the short term to stabilize the current building and buy yourself time to implement longer term capital strategies.
Ernie, I need to interrupt you there. We're at our 15-minute mark at the moment, and we are a bit time strapped here this evening with this agenda. So I do appreciate your time, but I think we do need to continue this conversation possibly at our policies and priorities meeting next week on Monday. Is that a possibility, Ms. Thompson, to add that to the agenda?
Yeah, I would be. I'm available for that, and I apologize that time flies when you're into something that's quite important. So
absolutely, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. We would have the ability to add it to PPC next week.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Ernie, and appreciate all the work that was done on the report. It was an excellent report. I enjoyed reading it.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to further discussions.
Thank you, Ernie. Okay, moving on to consent, consent agenda. Recommendation, please. Councillor Kirkhope.
All items for November 1st, 2021. Set agenda for information.
Seconder. Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Any items council would like to get from the consent agenda? Councillor Norbert.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. 7.4, the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society letter of support request.
For discussion, seconder. Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'd like to move that the District of Tumbler Ridge send a letter of support in regards to the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society's projects for Windfall Lake and Bootski Lake projects.
Seconder, Counselor Kirby. Discussion? Counselor Norbury?
Just an explanation why. We have it in our agenda, but they have a couple of initiatives going on in these two areas, and I think it's great that they're willing to do this for for the residents of Tumbler Ridge. They're not asking for any money, just a letter of support. No brainer.
Okay, any other comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any other items from the consent agenda council would like to lift? I'd like to lift 7.3 for discussion. Seconder, Councilor Kirby. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I just wanted to thank Costal GasLink for their generous donation of $15,000 to provide or upgrade the technology within the council chambers to make our transparency and live streaming much more convenient and accessible for everybody. So I'd just like to recognize them and thank them very much for their donation. Any other comments, questions? Okay, and any other items on the consent agenda council would like to lift? Okay, moving on to new business. 9.1 Fire Services Master Plan. Report dated October 18th, 2021 from the Director of Protective Services regarding the Fire Services Master Plan. Recommendation, please. Councillor
Should that
Kurkowka.
be deferred to the PNP until the whole delegation is put through?
I agree. Motion to defer.
Motion.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 9.2, 2022 council meeting schedule. Report dated November 1st, 2021 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding the 2022 council meeting schedule. Recommendation, please. Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'll move that council receives the report for the Director of Corporate Services re 2022 council meeting schedule, and that council approves the 2022 council meeting schedule as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. Discussion. There was talk about whether or not we needed the meeting on December 20th. I guess we can talk about that later on in scheduled meetings. Sorry. Yes, 2022. December is not part of 2022. Sorry. Any issues there, council? Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 9.3, TRCC Ammonia Upgrade and Energy Recovery System, number CC 2105 RFP Award. Report dated November 1st, 2021 from the Director of Operations and Infrastructure with the Tumbler Ridge Community Center Ammonia Upgrade and Energy Recovery System, number CC 21-05 RFP Award. Recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That the contract for the TRCC Ammonia Upgrade and Energy Recovery Project be awarded to Simcoe Refrigeration.
Seconder. Councilor Kurkowka, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Second recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That the engineering portion of the contract for this project be awarded to Polo Engineering as a sole source due to historic data and complexity of integrating old and new systems.
Seconder, Councilor Kirby. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councilor Norbury.
That budgeted funds be allocated from the Peace River Agreement capital allocation of $224,000, $783, twice, to complete the project.
Seconder, Councilor Majinski. Discussion. So, Ms. Thompson, did clarify earlier, but I just wanted to clarify again, this project does include the low-cost heat recovery system that we had budgeted and planned to do this year, now combines with a complete ammonia system upgrade, is that correct?
Thank you, Member Trent, you are correct.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 9.4, council chamber audio-visual upgrades. Report dated November 1st, 2021 from the Chief Administrative Officer with the council chamber audio-visual upgrades. Recommendation, please. Councilor Lehman.
The council chamber audiovisual upgrades, including voting, meeting management, and other features for future capability in providing transparent, open governance. The budget amount for audiovisual upgrades to council chambers increased to $71,890.09, of which Costal GasLink funding has been obtained of $50,000, current approved budget of $50,000, and the remainder to be used from surplus.
Seconder. Councilor Kirby, discussion. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I fully support the recommendation on the floor. Like the report that came back was very well done, and I'm excited to see Tumbler Ridge step into the current century when it comes to its audiovisual broadcasting technology, especially with so many people watching. The only thing I wanted to mention was we do have an additional cost that I don't think is in the recommendation for $1,000 to have that opportunity where we can see the PowerPoint presentations on our wickets. And I believe we needed to approve an additional $1,000 to have that. Can we have clarity from Ms. Thompson?
Sure thing, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent, through council. You are correct. If council does want that crowd beamer so that you would have be able to see presentations on screens, then there's an additional $1,000 that wasn't included in there because it was an option at this time.
Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. The reason why I ask is that it is challenging at times to see the presentations when they're at a distance. We're trying to read these small fonts. So I'd like to amend the recommendation that we include an additional $1,000 for the crowd beamer Go.
Seconder for the amendment. Councilor Kirkhalka, discussion on the amendment. So Ms. Thompson, that additional funding is just for a pilot program of this screen feature? Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent. It's not a pilot. They do have a demo unit. A new unit is $1,500 and the demo unit is $1,000. And they do have the demo set aside for us at this time, so it would be $1,000. It's just been used as a demo, so it's new, but just out of the box.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norbury.
I mean, demo, if it works, great. We pay an extra $500. If it doesn't, we can save $100 by not having the price. So it's good to test it. That it's that much.
Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. With the demo unit, is that a comparable unit that's being used in Dawson Creek, or is that the whole audio video system that they have that we're kind of trying to upgrade to? Is it, or is it, do they have the wickets in place right now as well as the whole changing of the video system to each individual when it's tailored to who are speaking?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent, through council. So you are correct. The main system that we're putting in is similar to what Dawson Creek has. The Crowd Beamer Pro is something that was based on what council had requested. So I don't believe they do have that in Dawson Creek. It is just the ability for you guys to do this at this time, and that was the option that was provided to us.
Follow up.
Nope, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? I'll call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Call the question on the amended motion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 9.5, replacement of JD loader. Report dated November 1st, 2021 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the replacement of the JD loader. Recommendation, please. Councilor Majinski.
The council pre-approved the replacement of number 37 JD loader due to mechanical failure.
Seconder, Councilor Kirkowka. Discussion. Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 9.6, updated proof of vaccination measures. Report dated November 1st, 2021 from the Director of Protective Services regarding the updated proof of vaccination measures. Recommendation, please. Councilor Kirkowka.
Move for discussion.
Seconder, Councilor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councilor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so my questions, and I have been in and talked to Ms. Nelson, my questions about the staff on what they're seeing in regards to the restrictions that come out, and they're implementing that based on the government or Northern Health, i.e. reading through this and we're throwing the curtains closed up the upper part of the rink due to some people who knows what their vaccination is. They're sitting up there, so they have closed the curtains to the rink because the mandate is you're going to be a spectator, you have to be vaccinated. So I'm just curious how that's going over to the news.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent. I'll have Chief Curry respond. Curry?
Your Worship, Council, so as Councilor Kirkuk alluded, we did close the curtains. This has been met with mixed results from the user groups. They're quite happy that it was done and they don't have to have proof of vaccination outside of the arena. When discussions were had, they expressed the interest that they wanted to stay inside the arena. They did not want to go and have the requirement to request proof of vaccination status outside of the arena as people were spectating. And that wasn't just for the upper lobby, that was also in the lower skaters lounge as well. That would be the requirement. So, yeah, there's definitely some people that aren't happy about it, understandably. I fully will get it, but this is what we're required to do. This was a loophole that was within our own municipal organization in terms of how we rolled out the proof of vaccination status requirements, and we closed the loophole. And this is the result.
Follow up.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess my concern comes down to how are we managing staff in regards to, no disrespect to staff, but I mean, like, how much heat is staff taking? I guess is what I'm getting at. To me, I get that staff is, I guess it should be the mayor, shouldn't even get that, that's my point. I get that staff is only following the mandate that's set up by the province. We don't make the mandates, totally get that, totally understand it, but then you'll start putting staff into positions that maybe we need to look outside the box of what we can do to assist staffing. If this is the new mandate from the province or whoever's making them, where do we go forward? Is staff taking a bunch of heat at the community center? Is staff taking a bunch of heat at town hall? I'd be curious to know that, and if there's something we can do.
I would assume so. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent, through Council. So I've received a few phone calls myself regarding the proof of vaccination and closing of the curtains. And I do also know that Chief Curry has taken quite a few of those calls. In regard to community center staff, I haven't had any communication with them that they're not able to handle the visitors that are upset or those that are in support. So we haven't heard too many adverse reactions from our staff, but they do have to handle it, and we've provided them with information to be concise and to respond if it's the provincial health order and the Northern Health orders that are going. We did have some concerns from residents that a few of our staff did not have masks on when they were out in areas where the public could access, so we have addressed that with our staff members again, the importance of having the masks on when they can interact with the public.
Okay. Follow up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna come more actually. So my thoughts are on, maybe I don't get it, or I do get it, just don't agree with it. If we are not following the mandate set by the province, what is the repercussions of that?
Ms. Thompson?
Just 1 second, please.
Mayor?
I can somewhat maybe clarify that a bit. So if the district decided not to, no, we're not doing it, or if we don't do this, we close our facility. That's kind of what I'm looking for, that clarity on this, so not so much the.
Okay, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent. I was just speaking with Chief Curry because I know that there are fines. We were just trying to see if we could remember what the fines were on top of our head. So the first thing would be an enforcement letter saying you must do it. The second one would be fines. So that is our options at this time. We enforce what the provincial health order and what Northern Health have for restrictions, or they could close our facility.
Thank you. Councilor Norbury, then Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Councilor Kukalka mentioned, what can we do to help staff? The biggest thing we can do to help staff is, keep telling people and recommending people get vaccinated. With our vaccination rates the way they are, the government is going to increase the pressure on areas that don't have high vaccination rates. We can already see downtown Vancouver, the Vancouver Canucks, 100% capacity. They're lifting restrictions for areas that have high vaccination rates, including our own region. We're starting to see in Smithers, other areas that have high vaccination rates. They're not having these restrictions. Most important message I think we can have for people: get vaccinated. This can protect you.
Thank you, Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. This is probably through to staff. Can you tell me what areas of the community center are open to non-vaccinated residents and that basically.
And the reason.
And the reasoning for it. That's where my confusion comes in.
Sure. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Bertrand. I'll have Chief Curry respond in a second, but we are going by what the provincial health order says, and we have to for certain things, for certain activities, for gatherings. So I'll have Chief Curry respond in greater detail. Curry?
Worship and Council, so the building is a hybrid use building. I think we all are understanding of the events and the activities that happen in our community center. So to enter our facility, you are not required to show proof of vaccination. Understanding that there are certain activities that are public use and are deemed as an essential public use. So the washrooms, that's pretty much the biggest example that I used of that. We have no downtown washroom facilities, etc. So we've identified that and saying, okay, if people need to use the washrooms, they can come in, they can go there. You can walk around the facility. The mask mandate order is in place, but to walk and look at the exhibits and view things, etc., that does not require proof of vaccination. That's as per the guideline. What does have proof of vaccination is an event. And by an event, I mean an in-person gathering of people. It's not one or more, it's not 50, it's just a gathering. So when you meet that threshold, then you have the proof of vaccination requirement. And there are guidelines in the order that talk about indoor gatherings specifically. Even with the mandate that if you are gathering, you still have to have a system in place. Somebody needs to be the organizer for the gathering. You still have to have a method of maintaining separation from everybody. So that's either mechanical means or dots on the floor. You can't just have, the mosh pit of people at an indoor gathering. So meetings, for example, proof of vaccination, all of our meeting rooms, etc. Any of the events, if you have, whether it be adult sport, if you have adult activities, say that like the Happy Hookers or those type of activities, pickleball, floor curling, all of those things have to have the requirement that are there. So there's very few that don't, other than just walking around, talking to the front desk, front end services, talking to administration, those kind of things don't require the proof of vaccination.
Thank you, Chief. Follow up? No. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Moving on to 9.7, schedule of meetings. This is where we talk about December meeting. December 20th meeting. It's council's favor on counseling. Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we have to have some input from staff, see what their capacity is right now, and if there is anything that's deemed to be on there. And if it's fairly open, then I think we can skip it. But if something does arise, then we should probably put it in there, pencil in availability.
Counselor Kirkowka?
Yeah, I think Councilor Majinski just hit it. It's staff capacity. I imagine, previous years we see it, that staff do have holidays planned or station or whatever. To me, I'd hate to see us do a meeting and we're holding back people from holidays, or people having to come back from holidays because we're holding a meeting. So to me, if it's not needed for council to meet for a meeting that night, and if staff thinks it is, we can always move the meeting to move to the week before, the 14th. If staff figures, yeah, we should have a meeting because, we didn't get a whole bunch done come November, we need to add that, but because staff could be concerned of having senior staff in town hall, maybe you just move it to the week earlier.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent. I did actually speak to Member Trent about this a little bit earlier today to see what council wanted to do for that meeting. I am planning to be away to Christmas then, so it will be the first council meeting I would miss. I do understand my staff would be able to do it, but I think that we will be able to get everything that we need brought in by the first meeting in December and at PTC.
So as far as capacity-wise, information-wise, there isn't certain reports slated for the 20th at the moment?
Not at this time.
Okay. Council? Councilor
I put a
Kirkowka?
motion forward that we cancel the meeting for December 20th, 2021.
Seconder? Councilor Majinski, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any other items or issues with the schedule of meetings? Council, staff? No, thank you. Notice of motions, any notice of motions this evening? Councilor Kirkowka?
So this really isn't a notice of motion, I don't believe. I'm hoping that, I know not something that we normally do, and maybe no motion will be need to be made there, but we talked to BCM in regards to the BCM and meetings after between Northern Health, emergency meeting with Northern Health and BCM. And it was mentioned at that meeting when council was here that we should be looking at having a representative from BCM that's on the Mayor's Health Task Force. Now, I've gone through the tables, what am I looking at here?
Terms.
Terms of reference, sorry, thanks, Councilor. It doesn't really state on there, it talks about medical professional, 2 counselors, residents. So I'm wondering if we think we need a motion to add BCMs to that task force before we decide.
That's, if we do need to change the terms, we can always bring that back at another meeting, absolutely. I think maybe more discussion with Ms. Thompson in that regard, and if there is a delay to have to change the terms to include BC Ambulance, then that's what it is, but I think eventually we do need to get a representative on that committee in order to fill the gap at this point. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent, for council. So we would be able to add the terms of reference to PPC for next week, and with the recommendation in there to add the BCEHS, and then it can go to the next council meeting.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Any notice of motions? Councilor's business? Any councilor's business? Councilor Norbury?
Sorry, Councilor Kirby. Sorry, I saw you
That's
beat me
okay.
quickly, but that's fine. I just have one quick update from the Society for Children's Needs. We've been without a coordinator for a little while, and we struck a subcommittee to find a new coordinator, and we have found Sky Koenig to lead us forward, so she'll be the coordinator next year.
Excellent. Congratulations. Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Just a brief update that the Geopark had their AGM. Another new board was formed. And I won't go into much detail because they will be presenting next week at the PMP. But just a heads up that there is going to be some funding issues since they have lost the funding from the regional district this year. So that will be coming down the pipes on how we can support them or other ways to secure some funding moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other councilor's business? I Want to say thank you to the TR Legion for presenting me with the first poppy in Tumbler Ridge. It was very much appreciated, and I just learned on the way here that it's the 100th year of the celebration of the poppy, so it's pretty significant. So thank you very much to them. And no more councilors' business. Okay, question and answer period. We have a nice full gallery this evening. Welcome. Please, microphone is yours. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me? I need to turn it on, or?
It should be on.
Question.
On the top of the microphone, right by the stand where it has.
For question, yeah.
Name them.
We can hear you.
There we go.
There. Testing. I don't think it's on. Is it on?
We can hear you.
You can hear me anyway.
You betcha.
Anyway, thank you so much. My name's Denise Mountanet, and I was here a few weeks ago talking about vaccinations and the PCR tests, and I really hope you had an opportunity to read some of the materials that I wrote. And I do have a great other option regarding our situation in our community and at the rec center regarding another option that we have. And that would be to,
Do you have a question in regards to the agenda tonight?
well, it's in regards to the topic
Okay,
of the vaccination.
it's the question.
Can I make a statement?
I appreciate a question.
Okay, well, I would like to ask you and the council to consider contacting the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, and Adrian Dixon, and whoever else you want to, in regards to asking them for reconsideration regarding the vaccination mandates, and here's why. Because, first of all, the PCR tests have been proven to have a 56 to 95% false positive rate, and 99.94% of people recover from COVID. But here's our real concern with these vaccinations, Mr. Chris Norberg.
Denise, please, I still haven't heard a question yet. This is question.
Yeah,
answer
I
period.
said
I'd
I
appreciate a
would like
question.
to send a letter.
This isn't a time to provide stats or
That's a
statistics
question.
or opinions. I need
Okay.
a question, please.
Okay, it's a question to ask you to please consider writing a letter to Bonnie Henry, et cetera, Adrian Dix and all them, and asking them for reconsideration regarding the vaccination mandates because they are proving to be deadly and harmful. Right now, if you go on Health Canada, you can, and I have the websites and everything, you can see that 208 reports of Canadians have died from these vaccinations. And not only have 208 people died, thousands of Canadians are suffering severe adverse reactions like blood clots and myocarditis. And they say studies show that people who get myocarditis can die within 3 to 10 years.
Okay.
So there's a lot of concerns, and now you're injecting children in our community, 5 years old and up, and there's no reason. And there's all kinds of doctors across Canada who are telling people
I appreciate-
that children should not be vaccinated.
I appreciate your concern.
Thank
Thank you for the question.
So the only comment I'll make is we are not doing the vaccinations, right? So it's through the government. So you say that we are vaccinating children? We are not. I am not.
Yeah, you not personally,
just want-
I understand that.
Your comment was
That
that we are.
was the
but we're
comment,
not.
though.
Well, when I say we, or it's happening here in our community, that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions from the gallery in regards to tonight's agenda? Please.
I'm just looking for clarity. Hi, my name is
Hi,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you. I'm actually looking for clarity on the rec center. So for the rooms, you have to be vaccinated or not
For
vaccinated?
the meeting rooms, you mean?
Yes, and up to what capacity?
Okay, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, member. For clarification, what's your name?
It's Kelly Wells.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'll have Chief Curry respond. Just need to look it up 1 second.
Okay.
or 2 minutes.
Not that long. So, it's all based on the term event. So, like I said, the in-person gathering of individuals. So, I can read it verbatim for you if you'd like. So an event refers to an in-person gathering of people in any place, whether private, public, inside, outside, organized or not, at one time, regular or irregular basis. Only those listed under Section Q are exempt from the order. And I won't go and read Section Q. There are a few different exemptions that are there. And then, so we get into Section C, inside events to which no other part applies. So you have 50 people or more for an indoor event that are there. So no more than 50 people excluding staff or lesser number as provided in Section 2. There has to be a COVID safety plan. All individuals age 12 and older have to be vaccinated fully as per Section C1, which just means that they have to be fully vaccinated after the October 24th.
If there's 50 or more.
No, that's all individuals. It has no bearing on 50 people or more. You can have an event right now with no more than 50 people indoors. Doesn't matter if it's up to that or not, everybody has to be vaccinated. That's 12 years old of age or older.
Okay, so maybe like for the staff, when we phone and ask, I need some clarity on that because I just booked a room for people under 50 people and they told me that they don't have to be vaccinated at the community center. So maybe clarity on that part because now we have to cancel because
Appreciate you bringing that.
yeah, they're just not sure.
For sure. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. And, you know, it is certainly a learning experience for all of us right now. And the way restrictions are in, restrictions are out, it's quite challenging to try and keep up. So
Now,
appreciate
so
that.
if they are all vaccinated and you can have up to 50, correct?
That's right.
With the capacity, with the room having that capacity of 50% capacity, right? So the room needs to be able to hold 100 people. So depending on which room you book.
And does it matter what the room is used for? Are you guys very specific on use of the room?
Ms. Thompson? Yep.
Yeah. So just
Sorry, thank
No
you.
problem.
It's just any type of gathering. So as long as there's people in the gathering, if the event doesn't.
It doesn't really matter what it's correct. So if they wanted to hold church in one of these rooms with up to 50 people, not exempt. As long as they're all vaccinated, correct?
That one's easy enough to answer at this time. There's no church, in-person
Yeah.
church services at this time.
Yeah,
Through
in the
through
church
that mandate,
buildings,
right?
for sure. Yeah,
all worship services in Northern Health, which is, well, I shouldn't say, in the Northern Health regions that are currently enforced under the order, so not the east side, or west side rather, is all virtual. There is no in-person
right.
service.
So if we wanted to go play bingo, we could, but if we wanted to worship, we could. Correct? Thank you, I just need some clarity on that.
Thank you.
Karen.
Of course. Hi.
Hi, Your Worship Council. I just wanted to ask one question. Has any steps been taken to recognize people that have had COVID? According to the La Jolla Institute in California that did a study in January 2021, they found that there was lasting immunity after recovering from COVID. People who get COVID don't pass it on, they don't get it again. And nobody seems to have taken that into consideration. And I just wondered if there was any consideration for that. They know when you have measles, you have pretty well lasting immunity. Those that have the shot, they have outbreaks in colleges and all kids that have been immunized for measles. So this was studies, these are scientific studies from the Institute of Immunology. And just wondered if any consideration has been taken.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. That would be answered by Northern Health and by the province and the ministry and the provincial health officer. That is not something that municipal government would be
And I have phoned them all, and they all have the same line that we understand, but the administration has not taken any steps to recognize that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Thank you for the question, Karen. I think there's times when we have calls with Northern Health and with the ministries, and there's no, we could easily ask that question because we put forward questions and concerns that we have, and I think that's a good one because there's a lot of, I know there's a lot of people talking where they're saying people that have had double vax or can still pass on COVID to somebody else, and you know, I've got family members that have had COVID, but they still had to get the vaccination, and so I like that question. I'd like some clarity on that myself too.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us would, absolutely. Yeah, we certainly can. Please.
Yes, the only question I have is there any information, any situation, any deaths that would happen, anything that would put this council and the care of Tumbler Ridge, would there be anything that would turn these people here who care for Tumbler Ridge to decide for themselves that they don't feel the mandates are safe? And it's almost a rhetorical question. I wish that it would be something that you would consider in your hearts, that there could very well come a time when the information that comes out is so critical to the health of this community that you would actually go against the mandates. Is there that? And it is rhetorical. I don't expect you to tell me right now because it's something I would like you to think on.
I appreciate it. Can I have your name, please? Sorry
Laura Wyman.
Laura Wyman, thank you. Please.
Yeah, can you tell me have there been employees for the town here that have asked for a medical exemption or another type of exemption from taking the shot?
We don't have a mandate within the district to be fully vaccinated to work within the district at this time, so we don't have that type of an exemption.
Okay.
Is that correct, Ms. Thompson? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
There is no mandatory vaccination within the district of Tumbler Ridge, and if there was information, we're not allowed to release information regarding our personal information regarding our employees.
Thank you.
I wouldn't ask for a name, but I was just, so in other words, you can make a decision underneath the provincial government that you don't have to necessarily make a mandate here in this district.
The technicalities around it, Ms. Thompson, are you aware, please?
Thank you, Member Trent. The difference is what we do as an employer versus what we do as a municipal government. So as an employer, there are different, we do not have a vaccine mandate as an employer. The provincial order is something that's different.
That takes me to the second question, if you don't mind.
Please.
Then what about a general, I'm not employed here, but does that just extend to employees, or does it also extend to just a citizen like myself?
What specifically is the question, sorry?
Well, these mandates, the provincial mandates, so you're saying you're not extending it to employees. Now I'm asking, I'm a general citizen and taxpayer here. Am I obligated to take the shot under the provincial mandate? Does it carry over in this district into just ordinary citizens like myself?
Councillor Kurkowka.
There's no mandate that you have to be vaccinated, right? You do not have to go take the shot if you don't want it. That's a personal choice if you want to have the vaccine or not. I think that's your question. So right now, as an employer, council or staff have not made it a mandate for employees of the district numbers to be vaccinated. I don't see that. If the provincial government starts to mandate stuff, there'll be more looking into it. But it's no different. Right now, the government's asking you to be vaccinated. That's still your choice as a Canadian not to be vaccinated.
But there's consequences.
Or sure, that's how they're doing it. Right?
They lose
That's-
their jobs, they.
Like my son
they
did
go-
yesterday.
They discriminate.
That's not up to, that's probably the company he works for,
Yeah, it is.
right? So that's the difference. We're not doing it, so anybody that works within the district does not have to be vaccinated, they're not
What
losing
about
jobs.
the steakhouse? You can't get in there unless you have a,
That's a provincial mandate in regards to that, right? So again, I would not want to hold any organization or company accountable for what they are mandated to do. Here we are in a small town of Tumbler Ridge, we have great folks in front of us. And I'll tell you, there isn't a business in this town that isn't suffering from the mandates that were put in place by the BC government. For us not to go and support them, and some of us can't go support them. That's understandable, but there's other ways of supporting those small businesses as well. So it's
How would
not
that-
their fault.
how would that be?
Well, if it's a restaurant and you can't get in there, do takeout. I do takeout. I call, they deliver. There's the inn that delivers, steakhouse delivers. I mean, Subway, send Vinny to go pick it up. Right? So there is ways of supporting the people, that businesses in the community, that if you can't attend because of a mandate made by the province or by the federal government. Like, be honest, I mean, people come before us, and I get it. I get the frustration. But we are also a link of the provincial government. We govern this community on behalf of the province of BC. We collect taxes for them. We keep our water, sewer, and garbage pickup. That is what we do on behalf of the provincial government.
Yeah. Yes, please, in regards to tonight's agenda.
Yes, it's about the vaccination mandate. I understand that the council got $827,000 for COVID money in 2020. What happened to those funds, and how much did you get in 2021? Or did you?
We haven't, and it's all accounted for. Ms. Thompson, can you explain where that is, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So we provided a report to council earlier this year, and we are going to be providing another report here before the end of the year on where those funds are, but it was for restart. So it was also to help us with the additional staffing, the additional cleaning, and those expenses were able to be put against that funding. And we did receive that funding. We did receive it in 2021, 2020, and it was carried over to 2021. And those funds are there, and we just have to keep reporting the effects of COVID and what it's had on the community for our expenses. So that's what those funds are there for.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for everyone attending and your questions this evening. Oh, one last question, Jess?
Yeah, mine was just in regards to the curtains being put up in the community center. I'm just wondering why the red flag, I guess, if the staff at the community center has not heard any problems from the community or maybe from spectators, why this was done. And also, did the district bring it to maybe the ice users board before they went ahead and put these curtains up?
Yeah, from what I understand, it really was done to try and prevent the gathering of people in a certain area. But Ms. Thompson, can you explain, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I will have Chief Curry respond to that, but you are correct. It was the gathering of people that were in the skaters lounge and upstairs, that as soon as it's a gathering, then there is the requirement to request revaccination status. And at this time, our staff are not doing that. It does go down to the user groups for the arena and
that's regardless if it's in a public space.
I'll have Chief Curry respond now.
It's a public space, right?
Correct.
So then it falls on the ice users to have to go around the community center and ask for these vax?
Just around the arena. Chief Curry, can you elaborate, please?
Worship Council and to the gallery. So this was spurred on by my own personal observations. So walking through, doing a spot audit, walking through the building, I personally observed 10 to 12 adults who were all sitting shoulder to shoulder on the benches in the upper lobby. Some of them were masked, some of them weren't masked. At this point, it was mute for me to go up and have a chat and actually, like you said, it's a public use space. I'm not going to go up there and ask people for proof of vaccination passports because that's not been the intention for the building. Walk downstairs to the skaters lobby, same thing. We've got many people that are out there, they're watching, they're sitting at our brand new tables and chairs that are downstairs in the lobby, and they're watching people on the rink. This constitutes a gathering. This is what the requirement was. Did I go to the board? I did for the figure skating club. Yes, I talked to the president directly. I'm not sure if they went to the board or not. I talked to several board members from minor hockey. At the end of the day, this was an operational decision from the district of Tumbler Ridge, and the board member or the boards or the ice user groups do not need to be consulted for those operational changes. It could have been a courtesy, absolutely, but at that time it was a necessity over in order to make sure that we are in compliance. If we don't, we run the risk of the whole facility being shut down and nobody using the ice or anything like that.
Yeah, and it did specifically state in the order spectators as well, so I think that's where the loophole was found in regard to spectators.
Spectators, like unvaxxed spectators? Because I know when I had called with questions, that's what was pointed to me, that it was the unvaxxed spectators that they were concerned about, that were watching and using this. And to me, I was also told that this person personally watched video surveillance of unvaxxed spectators. And so I'm wondering how they decipher between unvaxxed and vaxxed.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I'll have Chief Curry respond again. Chief Curry.
Thank you.
So I don't know who was you talked to about the actual video and looking at and that kind of stuff. So I can tell you that I've never seen video of anybody. I personally witnessed this. And like I said, I have no idea if people were vaccinated and unvaccinated. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you are unvaccinated, you are not to be gathering under the provincial order. If you are unvaccinated, I have no idea.
But you're allowed to be in the ice rink, like so where
No,
people are
not
allowed
anymore.
to sit
No.
in the.
Not anymore.
Oh, so no, there's no.
No vaccine. You
not
have to
even
be fully
bleachers
vaccinated.
anymore.
Not anymore, no.
No, I know, fully
Yeah.
vaccinated you are.
Yeah.
So how are we to know who's sitting upstairs, whether they're fully vaccinated or not?
And that's
So
where
these
it
people
became the
who
requirement of
are,
the user group.
say, fully vaccinated and want, and I'm saying this because I've spoke to people who I personally know that are fully vaccinated and want to sit upstairs with their young children who are warm, or maybe in the library, who want to keep a closer proximity on them, and now they're being punished by these coming up.
Ms. Thompson? Any comment in that regard?
I'll have Chief Curry respond again.
Thank you.
And you're absolutely correct. So it's not for people, it's not being discriminatory against vaccinated and unvaccinated, it's to capture everybody. You are more than welcome to go into the arena. On the upper side at the doors, there are still, those doors are locked from the outside going into the arena, but they're not from the inside the arena going out. So you can still stay in the upper lobby and still keep an eye on kids and everything like that on the upper side as long as you are fully vaccinated on that side. This is, like I said prior, this is a loophole that was closed by district staff. It is presumed that people were using it in an unvaccinated capacity. In fact, it was disclosed openly that they were unvaccinated, and that's how the only way that they could watch their children play hockey. That is why we had to close the curtains.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury, then Kirkcalka.
Thank you, Member Bertrand. I'd like to make a comment from Ms. Ernest. Thank you. I've spoken with some people from minor hockey, and it's quite a burden that all these restrictions are putting on them. Adding another restriction of going on the building to monitor is an issue, right? I've heard from some people, just so they know, that there's a spectrum of desires and wants. Some people want the entire building to be vaccinated only, and we don't want to go to that point. So, there's these things that we have to do to still keep areas open and accessible to people. And this is one of those tough situations that we're stuck with, and Chief Curry has recognized because, as we said, we could lose our building, we could lose minor hockey. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
Councillor Kirkcalka.
I'm good, Councilmember, you just hit it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for questions, so I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for joining us. Resolution closed. I'll move that the meeting of the District of Tumbler Ridge Council scheduled for November 1st, 2021 be posted to the pursuant to the community charter provision of section 91, C, E, I, and J as follows. C is labor relations or other employee relations. E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And J, information that is prohibited, or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Seconder, Councillor Kirkowka. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10-minute recess, please.
You guys will